listen, congrats on season 3. You know how much of a fan I am of this show. It doesn't slow down.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's a great season. I love season 3s in general. I just think that, especially for character comedy, getting the other members of the ensemble to have enough like screen time over the first couple of years where you like totally like everybody involved and, you understand where they're funny and the cast fire on all cylinders. It's just a good season, I think.
Actually, what do you want to tell people about season 3?
Well, I think that it's got some cool, unique things in the sense that there are now Nathan has been downloaded into the real world, and he's reunited with Nora, or united for the first time, and their relationship was like very sort of digital, and now it's real, and that's got its own interesting wrinkles. And because he's missing from the virtual world, the people at Horizon, the low-level employees, kind of panic and they reboot him in the digital world from a backup copy that's was made a few months earlier. So there's a second Nathan now in the digital world with memories the same as the first up until a point, and then they stop. So he's unaware of a lot of things that happened at the end of season 2. And so that's like a kind of an interesting scenario for the romance stories of all the different characters, that now there's 2 of these guys, although they're slightly different, and they're just starting to diverge more and more.
And comedy ensues.
Comedy ensues, yes.
So season 3 is 8 episodes, which is different than season 1 and season 2. Was 8 episodes a result of story, or because Amazon said, or Prime Video said, we would like 8 episodes?
Well, season 2 was shot like really in the middle of the pandemic. So we were prepared to go 8 episodes, and then things started to get really bad in Vancouver. And, so we were like, so we have 7 great episodes. Let's stop now. So, and then, 8 is a more normal season, I think, for these kind of shows. And they're very jam packed. Like some of them have 4 or 5 storylines. And, I definitely feel like this desire to put as much entertainment as I can, because we've been thinking about the show for like a year and a half in between seasons. So you really want to pack in a lot of fun and all the different genres, make sure everything is hit, So
without spoilers, season 3 ends in a way that you want season 4 tomorrow. So when you were writing the end of season 3, was there ever a thought of wrapping things up, or was Prime Video saying, you're going to probably get a season 4, let's keep it going? Yeah,
more like the second one. I mean, we're actually the number 1 most viewed half-hour show on Prime Video. So it's kind of cool. They're supportive of the show. And, I'm pretty optimistic that we're starting up season 4 soon. Yeah. So like, hopefully I wouldn't want to end the show on such a note, it'd be really incomplete feeling.
Well, one of the things that I really liked is that season 3 to me feels like it's wrapping up a lot of storylines that were set up in the first 2 and opening the door on a whole nother thing. Is that the way you guys feel about it as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's really, like what you do when you're telling stories, right? You can't tease people forever that nothing's going to happen. Something has to happen, but you don't want it to have this feeling of closure until you're ready to close, right? So you're always like starting up new, intriguing, unanswered questions. If you're going to close some things down, they should turn into something else that's interesting. And I think that, if you care about the characters, which was always a big, important thing for me, then you're going to care about their adventures and what happens to them if it matters to them, So there's still a lot that's unanswered in the show. And, and then, obviously that's like story structure stuff, but on the level of fun and moment to moment, we're trying to always have good jokes, good surprises, like cool moments. So
how much were you thinking about, okay, well, the show's kind of a hit now. Like, are we basically, do you know when you get to the end of season 3 where season 4 is going to go? Or is that a thing that you think about once season 4 starts being written?
Well, I've got a few ideas, but I mean, the thing that's fun about having a traditional television show with a room of writers and the time devoted to weeks and weeks of discussing possible stories and coming up with things is, you want to let that process happen. And, when I sold the show back in like 2015, I had 2 seasons worked out, but it was before casting anybody. And you realize when you cast people, you realize, oh my gosh, this person is hilarious. Like, for instance, Zainab was not a big character in my initial, Alicia in my initial pitch out, but I just love watching her. And so she's become a bigger and bigger character. And in season 3, there's like a big storyline of Alicia becoming responsible for taking the machine learning AI and giving it some kind of humanity and value system. So that's a really fun arc for her this season. And, pretty timely, I think.
Before the writer's strike happened, had you guys been working on season 4, or is it one of these things where now you're working on it?
We were supposed to be starting season 4 in May. So we had to not start the season 4 writers room because of the strike. But everybody made sacrifices.
No, totally. I'm just wondering, as a fan of the show, I'm just doing the math of, okay, well, if the actors' strike gets resolved this year, I guess they could be filming early next year. You know what I mean? So like the earliest another season could be on the air is like 2025.
I don't know. Boy, that's a bummer. But I think we're going to start writing in a week or 2. So I'm not worried about the actor strike still going when we're ready to shoot. The hardest part about the actors' ongoing strike is that I'm the only person from that original group to be able to press, and they're the charming ones. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones that should be going out and getting recognition for all the good work that they did. And it's very frustrating that they can't.
When the strike is over, I assure you that I will be asking to do interviews. But for now, I am very happy to be talking to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You didn't direct any episodes in season 3. Did you think about directing?
I love directing the show, but it's a bear to be the showrunner of the show, and so there's so much prep for next week that has to happen that if I was not around for 2 weeks because I was just doing one episode, I would worry about things like, I was able to write 2 episodes this year, and I would love to direct more. I directed the first 2 of this show, but then things start to roll, and it's just really. It's really difficult, and we have great directors, and I really enjoy the stuff that each of them brings. They all have a slightly different, probably more sophisticated than me kind of talent that makes the show better. But I'm like super involved in the post. The post is really where I have to put in most of the effort because it takes such a long time with all the visual effects, and you have to give rounds and rounds of notes to the artists, and No,
it's a beast.
It's a bit of a beast, and you got to start. You have to start editing. Like I could maybe direct the last one because I wouldn't have any more prep, but then we have to already be editing. It would delay the editing. So. Yeah.
So I definitely want to ask you something else. The last time we spoke for Space Force season 2, RIP. I wanted a season 3 on that.
Me too.
We talked about like a possible Office, new version of The Office, and it's come out that I guess you might be serious about a new version of The Office. Is that accurate or is that not accurate?
Well, I think that it's very speculative. And the fact that it kind of blew up based on one line in a Puck piece was kind of cool, I guess, in the sense that the fans they still care a lot. But the thing I would say is when there's something to announce, I will definitely announce it.
Well, the thing is, it's because I think that article happened during the writer's strike. And so, there's for me, maybe that's something you and NBC have been talking about and, waiting to announce after the strike, and so I think that's what people are wondering.
Well, I mean, I've been talking about it with NBC for years as a potential, because they're, into it. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Like when there's something to announce, some good news, I will announce it.
Sure. The one thing I was thinking, though, if and when you actually do this, is how much social media has changed since The Office was on the air, and what that can bring to to storylines and everything. Just how technology has changed in the way we all live our lives.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, when you watch old movies, it's like a game to identify what wouldn't work when everybody had a cell phone. You know what I mean? Like all the story moves of people like, they just missed you. Oh, dang. Now maybe I'll get on that boat and go to, it's just like, oh, how frustrating. If you only had a cell phone. So I mean, it's an interesting question for sure. I mean, the funny thing about technology is just like on this show, on Upload, it's like so much about technology, and yet the technology is still changing so fast. You know what I mean? Like I was a judge in January at something called an AI in filmmaking hackathon at MIT. And they did short films all using some aspect of AI. And like some used AI to write the music, and others wrote the script and all this stuff. And after it was done, I immediately wrote everybody I knew who worked at the Writers Guild to be like, guys, this is frightening. You got to do something. And that was like January of 2023. And then in March, ChatGPT dropped, or whenever that happened. And it was just like, so things can be very rapidly changing for sure.
That's something that I talk about with everyone, and the fact that, it's not about what's going on in AI today. It's what's going to happen in AI in 3 years and 5 years with the exponential growth of computer learning, because it's frightening what it's going to be able to do.
Yeah. And the thing that I came away from being that judge was, I was like, okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to have every single thing, every job in Hollywood is going to be done by AI potentially. And what it means is that, and also when you combine that with like Netflix's algorithm knowing what you like and which your favorite actors are, that you're going to be given a very personalized movie, and it's going to be all generated off scripts of stuff you've liked and sort of blended. And then they're going to have, a way to take Tom Hanks and, Betty Davis and just make them the same age and, have them be in the movie together or whatever. It's crazy.
I heard, and take this with a grain of salt, but I heard that one of the reasons why so many companies are going after life rights is because we're reaching the point where technology eventually, it's not right now, but soon, we'll be able to take like Humphrey Bogart from the 40s, combine him with Bruce Lee from the early 70s, and put them in a buddy cop movie or whatever the hell you're looking for.
Right.
And make it so like it looks like a movie.
Yeah, they'll be able to do that. And I think they'll also be able to say, wait, your favorite guy is Humphrey Bogart and your second favorite guy is Bruce Lee. Let's sort of mush them together and do some kind of Humphrey Lee, mashup character that only you will see in this movie. And that'll just blow. You'll be so excited. I don't know. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. And then on the other hand, I think there's a lot of probably puffery to it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if it'll ever work. I mean, it looks like it's going to work, but there's so many reasons why big companies like Netflix want you to believe that they're going to be able to do this and have like a no cost movie that people want to see. It's such a good story for their stock price that sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt, I think.
Like I said, I think that it's not about what's happening today, and it's not what's happening in a year. It's the 3, 5, and 10 years from now. You just look at what an iPhone used to do and what an iPhone can do now. It's really that simple, and that's what's going to come to AI.
Well, it's interesting to see where SAG is going to end up, because I feel like if they don't regulate it, then it'll be on everybody's individual contracts, and all the new actor contracts will probably have some language in it that says, "Oh, by the way, if something happens to you, we get to make this character forever using what we got on you."
That's a whole thing about, and that's what I was saying about likeness rights, because there are people going around trying to get likeness rights for life.
Yeah, well, we did that with the show. The character, there's a character like a sort of not too successful actor named Boris Netherlands, and he is the basis for the AI guy character in Upload, and he was paid $1,200 back in the day, and they scanned him, and he gets nothing, and he's really bitter about it, and it's just like, oh my God, that's what they're striking over.
I know I have to run. I know they're going to kill me, but I just want to ask you one last question about Upload. So what I'm curious about is you have, oh my God, I'm butchering on the name of is Horizons. And so Horizons, you have the gray zone. And my question is, are the Upload companies all existing in, this is real geeky, are all existing in one sort of afterlife world, or does each company exist in its own place, sort of like the way NFTs are, where they're not really connected? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my imagination, I mean, obviously it's all fake, but my imagination is that the gray zone is pretty much cyberspace. And so if it's all on whatever the World Wide Web is, then it's going to be on the gray zone. If that's the system that's being used, So if you are going to walk out of, if you're digital yourself and you can somehow crack out of Horizon and just walk through this undifferentiated nothingness that is the experience that people used to have when they walked off a Call of Duty map into Nowhere's Land, you remember? And that eventually you'd stumble into the Apple version, Apple's Cove, and it would be different. It'd be a beach theme and the whole thing would be there, but you could walk into it, in the same way you walk out of the Wizard of Oz. If you walk out of Oz, you go through a desert and then you get to, the real world eventually.
Nice to talk with you, sir. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. You too.